Yo, what's up?
We're back with a very joyful and high energy episode of
I'm so
your
excited.
number one podcast, composting
And the Conqueror.
in
Boo,
the
boo, boo.
Conqueror.
Play an
Can we
air
get
sound
an air,
effect.
get an air horn playing?
Yeah, get a sound
But not
effect.
like a war air horn, because
Not today's subject matter. This is probably it's gonna go downhill from here.
yeah, we need like.
Gotta start high.
Do you have any good knock jokes that you want to get out of the way before we get into it?
Yeah, I got one here for you. Wait, give me a second.
I think I knew what you were about to say, and I think that
Wait,
that's
what?
flying a little bit too close to the sun.
No. Okay.
I thought you were gonna make an Inglourious Bastards reference. Who's there? Who's there?
Yoda lady.
Can you be more specific?
Yoda from Star Wars. Lady. Yoda lady.
Yo, the lady? Who?
There you go. That shit sucks.
Oh, because we're talking about a German movie today.
It's actually an English movie, but...
It's in German.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that the country of origin is not English.
You got...
Okay, there's a reason...
Why are you being such a word Nazi right now?
I'm not! Literally in the Oscars, it's nominated for the best British film.
Dude, actually, this film is going down 1/2 a point for me because it's British.
Yeah, of course.
English. Oh, this is an anti-Anglo podcast.
Fuck Anglo-Saxon.
Before we get into it, a lighthearted thing. I put all my books away according to the Dewey Decimal System today, so that's awesome.
Yeah, that's sick.
Shout out Dewey Decimal.
Dewey Decimal System, am I right?
Sick transition. Dewey, the inventor of the Dewey Decimal System, was incredibly racist and anti-Semitic, and lost his librarian license because of that. Which brings us to the subject of today's episode. See what I did there, Joku?
Yeah, I saw what you did there.
Was that
really...
was that clever, or is that?
I'm not gonna comment on that.
You're not gonna sign off on that. Okay.
All right.
Let's stop being. We watched The Zone of Interest, and
You can take the field for the plot synopsis. I took it for cyber seduction.
Okay.
I think it's only fair that we alternate. So you can have this one.
Okay. I'm gonna recommend further reading from people who know more than me. That being The Holocaust Industry by Norman Finkelstein, Survival in Auschwitz by Primo Levi, and Mouse by Art Spiegelman. I'm not a Holocaust historian by any means. I'll get that out of the way. Rudolf Höss was a SS officer and one of the key architects behind the Holocaust. And this film follows a very brief snapshot of his life, living in a private villa right near Auschwitz-Birkenau.
No, not near. Like
Like
right
like
next to
right next to
like
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 their
next
house
to
is
the
connected
wall.
to like their wall is the wall is dividing their house and the camp. That's how
Yeah,
close.
like they have private slaves that come from the camp every day to their house. It's unsettling
It's a hard
to say the.
watch.
Yeah, it's a hard watch. It's very
It's one of those you
I
don't want to watch with your parents.
fuck you for recommending that I bring my dad to see this movie. By
You
the way.
wanted to. I didn't recommend your dad see.
I wanted to because I didn't know it was gonna be this messed up.
I told you that it was gonna be that messed up.
Except I was thinking it would be like
Martyrs.
Silo 120 Days of Sodom messed up.
Have you
where
seen
it's like-
Martyrs?
Nah.
I'm gonna watch Martyrs.
Yeah, it's very fly in the wall kind of snapshot of this guy's life.
Along with like his wife.
And his daughter.
I guess his children as well.
Yeah. As for plot goes, basically all the plot in this movie is he helps start up Auschwitz-Birkenau. He's promoted to sort of being the director of the final solution as to move away from his family who lives next to Auschwitz. And his daughter runs away. She was giving fruit to the people being held captive within the camp.
I feel like
and his
there's
wife stays in the camp.
there's
like-
a lot, but also very little.
Yeah,
Within
there's
this movie.
a lot of small things that happen. It's not a movie that's rich with plot, because
That's the point, though.
yeah, like we were talking about in our
Uh,
discussion of Killers of the Flower Moon. History and life don't follow a narrative structure, and I
Mhm.
made a mouse comparison,
Yeah.
which I would recommend that everybody reads. It's not. It's one of the most powerful Holocaust narratives, and if not my favorite graphic novel.
I've seen it at a comic book store that I sometimes frequent, but I'm probably gonna pick it up next time I'm there.
Yeah, they sell a hardcover where it's volumes 1 and 2. I quite enjoy it.
Yeah.
I have 2 other books just discussing Mouse. One moment, we're gonna cut this out. Hello? Oh, you need my driver's license number?
So guys, Rosa's doing some stuff here, you know what I'm saying? So we're on a little bit of a, it's just me, it's just Joku. Maybe Rosa will cut this out. I think it's funny to imagine Rosa listening to this right now. Rosa got a phone call. If Rosa could, it would be funny to put this at the end of the episode. Maybe to lighten the mood afterward or something. But yeah, I think that would be pretty sweet, if you ask me. So hopefully Rosa does that as I riffed for a couple of minutes. My day was pretty good. Took the train to work. Yeah.
So my lawyer called. Yeah, it's a movie where very little major events happen, but a
Yeah.
lot of small, interesting. I almost want to say like thought pieces.
Yeah,
happen. It's just a
like,
lot of thought-provoking
I
moments.
guess like narratively there's not a lot that happens, but there's still a lot to discuss within this.
Yeah,
Because
it's
like
like
it's not narratively driven very
what
much at
I'd
all.
liken it to is unearthing a scrapbook of Rudolf Höss's like personal photographs, right? There's no narrative structure to these series of images necessarily, but there's a
Right.
lot to discuss within each picture.
Yeah, that's a
And that's
good
how I'd
comparison.
liken the way that film's crafted, which it's a disturbingly beautiful film. Every shot is
Yeah, it's it's
superb.
so it's so distant as well. Like you just
It
feel just
yeah.
it's so
It
detached from everyone as well.
well, and it's very accurate to the the social psychology of the Holocaust. Let me what's the book? Understanding Genocide: The Psychology of the Holocaust by Leonard S. Newman and Ralph Erber. This is a book I read earlier last year. That discusses the sort of psychological state of the Wehrmacht and the SS. I don't care if I'm pronouncing Wehrmacht correctly; it doesn't deserve to be. Um, in the constant driver within these people's decisions, which is correctly portrayed in the movie, wasn't like a sadistic lust so much as it was clocking into work
Yeah.
and just treating it like it was the cost of doing business, just detached from it. Um,
Something that is like it's disgusting and disturbing in a way that you can also semi relate to the characters because throughout the movie they make references to like inhibitions that they have within life. Like they talk about we dreamed of this, like with what was
in
Sandra Huller's
regards, yeah,
well like just living together or
yeah,
like just pipe dreams that the couple has together with children that like you know you or I would have with a significant other. And there is that
mm-hmm.
like that disgust and like
Yeah.
that semblance that you have with them
Um,
and there is that aspect of it which is also very
which
disturbing.
jumping off of that, of course, we're going to talk about Israel.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. There. You don't wake up in the morning and become Rudolf Höss. That's something that's created through increasing levels of exposure to the dehumanization of your fellow man
Mm-hmm.
until you create a sort of a machine man with a machine heart and a machine mind. Which we see within Höss, within the IDF soldier, within the people overlooking the bombing of Gaza in lawn chairs gleefully. And a lot of the images from this movie of just sort of disconnectedly being entertained watching the suffering of others did remind me of that particular photograph
Yeah.
taken of settlers watching the bombing of the Gaza Strip.
Something that has gone through my head recently is thoughts, since we've been talking about narrative structure within these kind of like genocidal moments within history, um, through indigenous people and the Holocaust. It makes me worried um, what is gonna pop out of the Israeli crisis. What media, um, besides a documentary, which you would hope to you know
Show it as it is rather than
yeah,
narrativizing it.
or
Yeah.
glamorizing it,
Yeah,
which
it would
is
feel
what is what I feel like a lot of these movies do.
yeah, it would
And
feel scummy like watching a
yeah,
film
same with the
glamorizing.
Ukraine
Yeah.
Russian thing. Like,
Yeah. Well, that yeah, there that war um there is no winners in war, right? Like
yeah,
I mean look at what that's devolved into. It's devolved into a trench war.
yeah.
Um
But I'm worried about like some of the media, like within film or TV, that
yeah.
can come out kind of glorifying it.
Yeah, and I think one of the images from this movie that stood out that kind of relates to that was Haas's youngest son playing with toy soldiers as his second youngest son dressed up in his Hitler Youth uniform.
Yeah,
And I think that it's a very strong image conveying this sort of Gramscian idea of hegemony creating our desires, like the ideology surrounding you, creating what you want in life.
yeah,
Um, where if you raise little boys to play with soldiers, they'll want to become soldiers, you know.
yeah.
Um,
I think this movie came out at an important time.
yeah. And it's
Um,
like
it's
growing up.
very, it's also very relevant to what's happening today,
It is relevant, yeah,
and it does speak volumes.
yeah,
Um,
um, yeah. And it I very much so appreciate that it doesn't take the very liberal sort of path of least resistance, which is to say, like this was the Holocaust was the result of bad people being like innately bad.
yeah,
Um, I think this film does a good job showcasing the amount of shared shared how I phrase this, like shared burden and the responsibility for what happened being taken on by
yeah,
the people in power. So that way it was you were able to blame the guy who told you to do it, who's told by another guy to do it, and so
mm-hmm.
on. Um yeah, which is how these things happen. And the film does a very good job conveying what makes genocide so truly frightening,
Yeah,
because the narrative about like individual bad actors doing individually bad things isn't real. That doesn't happen. It's much more systemic and cultural than that. Like I'd relate it to an American settler boy on the western frontier that plays with his Indian figures, growing up to view them as animalistic savages. It's a result of sort of hegemonic relations rather than individualistic wants.
Yeah.
I hope that came across clear.
I think people will probably get what you mean from that.
Yeah.
Changing topics slightly. Within each of these, within each movie that I do watch with somebody, I do like to ask what their favorite part was, but I don't really think there's a favorite part in this movie. So,
my favorite part in this movie is when he came out of the water with his like SS tank top on, because that was so like, it was
Yeah.
so not dude. That was the most trailer park ass looking tank top I've ever seen. That was crazy. Like I almost want to like think, no shot, they actually wore that. Like, come on. Like,
it did feel very unrealistic.
I don't know. I feel like they probably did have it, except it was just so over the top and funny.
Yeah.
So that was like the only part in the movie that I enjoyed.
But like, what was, I guess,
that brought me glee.
Or what sequence did you, I guess, found the most appreciation for within the movie?
The single most strong image in this film is the conversation that Haas's wife has with her mother, where she says that she's planting grapevines and flowers to hide away Auschwitz.
There is a lot within the movie as well.
The only other funny part of this movie is the fact that he had a very sexual relationship with his horse. He had a very lustful talk with his horse, and he had
let's just say
horse.
He had a lust to bust with the horse, if you know what I'm saying.
He was a Voshite. He was Vosh's strongest soldier. Yeah.
There's so many like striking moments within the film, I find. Like the part at the, I guess, banquet would be the word, where he's on the what the fuck is the word I'm looking for?
The stairs or the balcony?
No, the balcony, thank you. Where
I'm a linguistic genius, you don't have to remind me.
Yeah, you are. But yeah, when he's on the balcony, like, the shot of when he gets on there is beautiful. Like, it's kind of radiant in a sense that, like, the color palette completely changes and is kind of completely different. Did you feel that at all?
Yeah, it felt
it felt almost angelic in a sense.
Yeah. There's a lot of ways that you can interpret it.
Yeah.
On one hand, you could see it as him having second thoughts, but the more grim and realistic takeaway is that he feels a fulfillment of his life's purpose.
Yeah.
In overseeing the execution of 700,000 undesirables, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you think of the ending and how it was handled?
So
And how did you interpret it?
the way the movie ends is a very sudden cut.
Actually, do you mind if I set the stage here?
You can do it.
So, Rudolph is leaving his office, and do you remember what the name of the town was?
Onkel Schnappel Gimmer Geimen. I don't know, dude.
Alright, well, leaving that town.
You know I don't respect the country
Yeah.
of Germany.
Anyway, he's leaving his office there, and as he's leaving to go back to Auschwitz, there's a scene of him kind of gagging on the stairs, and like spitting up some spit and stuff, and then he look then he
spitting up some spit, no shot.
And then he looks down the hallway, and you can take it from here, Rosa.
He looks down the hallway, and there is a very sudden and jarring cut to modern day Auschwitz, where it's just janitorial staff doing their daily duties of maintaining the museum with vacuuming, brooming, and polishing glass. Very disconnected and clinically. Which I think is a sort of self-commentary on the film. As being, as like, the spectacle of the Holocaust is something that we're as disconnected from as the people committing it, but in a very different way. Where we know it happened, we know it was bad, and we don't understand it beyond that because it's too painful.
Yeah. I think another way you can interpret that is that he's seeing the outcome of what he is about to do. Or at least you and the audience, him and the audience, see what eventually is the outcome of the actions that were taken.
Yeah.
Did you think it was respectful? Did you find that it was handled?
I thought it was the most respectful film about the Holocaust I've ever seen.
I agree with that sentiment.
Yeah. As gratifying as it would have been, I'm glad that they didn't end it with him just like hanging. Even though that's awesome that he hung. Shout out to Rudolf Höss being hung. Because as gratifying as it would have been, I feel like it would have been a cheap attempt at narrativizing it.
I also think that it ended in a spot where you know what's gonna happen. You know the outcome. And it didn't need to go any further after that.
The film is very has a very high regard for the viewer's intelligence. And a respect for the people affected by these tragedies. Like an example of that, trigger warning, essay, skip ahead, like a minute.
Yeah.
Minute or two. You won't miss anything. The way they handle his raping of a girl, I my best guess that she was either Jewish, Romani,
Yeah.
or gay, or a communist,
Someone within the
So
confines of the
someone
camp.
within, yeah, someone within the camps. The way they handle it is just her arriving while he takes a phone call, taking off her shoes, and that cuts to him washing his penis. It's vile, but it's a way that's handled very intelligently and not played off for shock value.
Yeah. Yeah, I felt like the way that this movie handled everything was really well executed.
Yeah, a lighter note, the costume design, there's a lot of great attention to detail.
Do you want to go into technicals about this movie real quick?
Sure, we can.
Cinematography, as stated, excellent. Like,
Yeah.
it's
It would be
disgustingly beautiful.
It would be the strongest part of that movie if I wanted to focus on it.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to say, oh, watch this Holocaust film for the cinematography.
Yeah. But it adds. It helps the experience.
But it's very well executed.
It's also very deliberate in how it's shot.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you're into military history at all, the uniforms in this film are they give great care to the attention to detail without falling into the pitfall of believing the Nazi lie that all of these uniforms were beautifully maintained and fit like a glove, because that's untrue.
Yeah.
People were given whatever uniform they were able to get past a certain point in the war, and the film does a good job maintaining an accuracy to history without glamorizing the Nazi uniform. Which, let's be real, the Yugoslav partisan uniform is so much better. Like, come the fuck on, dude.
What did you think of the lack of music within the film?
I thought it was very good, and again, sort of doing what this movie wanted to do. What I believe it wanted to do, at least, as showing like,
I'm sorry.
A series of pictures throughout his life.
The music choice and how it was used was very deliberate within the film.
Yeah, it's very it's sort of a dark ambient synth.
Yeah.
That they go
for. It's very unnerving, like within Jonathan Glazer's previous work. That we did cover. So
yeah, if you liked the soundtrack to Under the Skin, you'll like the way music was used in this movie.
Yeah.
The beginning did sound like the start of a breakcore track, I will say.
What did you think of the sets?
It looked like you were there. It looked like they were filming on location.
Yeah.
I just realized I didn't think about the sets because it didn't come to my mind. Like, even with other movies that I think have good sets, like Killers of the Flower Moon, I was consciously thinking in the film that set is awesome.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't feel like watching actors on the screen.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, there was a review that I saw that it's almost like kind of a reality TV show.
Yeah,
like you're watching this family's just day-to-day life.
It's like the Truman Show if Truman was Hoss, and it wasn't like the Truman Show at all. Um, yeah, it's very. It just I never thought. I very rarely. I only thought, wow, that was good acting. When you spoke in one part of the movie about an actress we'll get to, I thought, wow, she is doing great.
We'll
Um,
talk. You want to talk about the acting? Because we can talk about the
but yeah, but what I
performances.
was gonna say is like before then, I never thought like these are actors. Like it's very
Yeah,
effective in transporting the viewer.
it feels very real.
Yeah. I think the lack of music,
Helps.
the very utilitarian yet beautiful
I think
shot
the
composition. It
yeah. You also have to talk about the sound design because that also puts
the
you
best
in
part
the
of this movie.
yes, because that also puts you within the same confines.
Yeah, the
And
Holocaust is I don't think that we see inside the camps once in this movie,
no, you do not.
or we see any sort of prisoner abuse in this
I
movie.
mean, you do see
Well,
like
outside in the house.
well, there's a scene within the field,
Oh,
within like the first third, but it's still very distant with
yeah,
how
it's very minimal.
yeah.
Wait, that's interesting. That's yeah, yeah, that was the only time. But
But there's
the
also like there is also illusions of what they would do as well
yeah
with like the
the
work that they would have to do.
yeah, but the this I don't want to say story of the Holocaust because again, it's not really a story. The history of the Holocaust is simply shown through audio cues in the background during Haas's conversations, like very mundane day to day,
Yeah.
where you'll
Like
hear
you'll
trains.
you'll see train smoke over walls and in the distance. I don't know if you noticed it,
Yeah,
but there are a lot of scenes of that.
yeah.
You'll just see the smoke go around,
You'll hear gunshots. You'll hear
screaming. Like
screaming.
it's horrifying.
Yeah, and
Um
the 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 most terrifying part about it is the lack of reaction
yeah.
from anyone but Haas's mother-in-law,
Yeah.
who didn't get the sort of build up to the dehumanization that everyone else did. Like
Yeah.
ideologically, she was Sig Heiling, but even then, the 0 to 60, for lack of a better term, is too much for her.
Yeah. Um
Um,
yeah,
there's
I
a like, and building on that dehumanization point, um, there's allusions to the tale of Hansel and Gretel,
yeah.
where they free a stork by shoving a witch who wanted to eat them in an oven, and I don't need to explain.
Along with facts, not facts, but footage of Huss's daughter at night and um trying to feed them food
Yeah,
and
it's
like
not.
plant food for them for the next day so they could
Yeah,
have
and to
something.
my knowledge, this is true, and it's portrayed in a way that doesn't fall into the pitfalls of the horrible film Boy in Striped Pajamas. Boy in
Yeah.
the Striped Pajamas.
There
Um,
was one part with it though, cuz after she leaves, excuse me, a sneeze coming. So I might
Achoo!
there is an audio like you can hear someone talking and fighting over
Yeah,
said apple, and then you hear a gunshot. So
yeah,
I guess it shows the results of
yeah.
her actions.
Um, and it does. It reminds me of a lot of the stories told by Art Spiegelman within Mouse about his time in the camp. Same with Primo Levi, about how you were so desperate that solidarity did erode at certain points.
Yeah.
Which is sad. But the Hansel and Gretel thing, I think that just goes back to my hegemony talking point.
Yeah.
Where when the story of Hansel and Gretel is told in modern America, we don't think about it that much. But
Yeah.
when you look into the origins of how witches are depicted and eating children, blood libel, you come to realize that, damn, that story's kind of anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
And it just shows the systematized radicalization of these children, which his daughter overcomes.
Well, I feel like that sentiment is with, like, historical, like, I guess, stories or sayings, are completely different and have changed over time. 'Cause...
Yeah, like, I DM'd you last night.
You did DM.
I found out what the origin of Five Little Monkeys jumping on the bed was.
Yeah.
Motherfuckers were racist, dude.
Yeah, and you also find that sentiment with, like, you know, like in the Mad Hatter within Alice in Wonderland. Like, the Mad Hatter refers to, like, people with, like, lead in their hats, which would make them go mad because there's fucking lead in their hats.
They'd so, like, I'm so angry, my hat's too heavy.
Yeah. So you see, like, throughout history, like, these things that are historically different to how they are portrayed now, and I think that stuff's really interesting.
Like, you know the origin of Humpty Dumpty?
No.
It's actually based on...
I think it's from... I think I've heard it, but I've since forgotten.
No, it's based on your mother.
Oh, you got it.
Woo!
But yeah. But yeah. Let's get back onto the movie. Let's talk about the acting more.
I literally don't know what to say beyond when you watch this movie. You don't think about it as acting because of how convincing every aspect of it is.
The wife of Rudolph is played by Sandra Haller, who was in another movie. Within
actresses are known
within 2023. In a movie called Anatomy of a Fall. Very good movie. Also my number 4 for the year. But
you talk about movies the way Patrick Bateman talks about business cards, and I love it.
Fuck off. I flipped her off. But anyway, it's just a completely, like, I watched Anatomy of a Fall before Zone of Interest, and she plays a completely different character. And then seeing her in Zone of Interest is just a complete, like, 180 from the character who she played in Anatomy. And I think she's very talented.
Because she played Rudolf Höss in Anatomy, correct?
No.
And in this movie, she's playing Rudolf Höss's wife. It's a very impressive range.
Anyway, yeah. So, just Sandra Haller, that range is incredible.
Yeah. She's probably the best like, she gives the best performance in this movie.
She does.
Hands down.
Yeah.
I think she's the most interesting character in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, she's just a turbo bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she like, and you can and the performance conveys what she's feeling at every moment
Mm-hmm.
when she's describing her garden to her mother, and the way that she always like signals for her mom to look away from the wall and towards the flowers
Yeah.
next to it.
And she's really proud of the flowers in her garden. And she's very, like, prideful of that.
Yeah.
And it makes her not want to leave because she's very prideful of her work, I find.
Very vain.
Yeah.
She refers to herself as the Queen of Auschwitz.
Yeah. So I guess that sums up her character.
Yeah, that like if someone walked up to me and was like, "Hey, I'm Rosanna, but my friends call me the Queen of Auschwitz," I would not want to be friends with that person. I'd be like, "You probably not a great gal to hang out with."
Yeah.
The dog in this movie,
I don't know. He was a dog.
he was my favorite character. Because they're it's slim pickings out here.
Yeah, not many people.
Sophie. Nice line though.
Yeah. Do you have anything else?
Yeah. I'll do that in like 10 minutes. Yeah, well, I'm on a phone. Sorry, my lawyer called again. Well, my lawyer. Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm
do you
going
have
through an
anything?
ongoing lawsuit.
Yeah. Anyway, do you have anything else you want to talk about this movie? I think. I'll say this. I found this is, I guess, my final statement upon the movie is I saw this in theaters, and at home. I found it more impactful at home for me personally. Just in the sanctuary
Because
of
you
my
got
own.
to stare at me the whole time.
No. Like within the sanctuary of my own house. And also I find headphones really helped my viewing experience.
Yeah, get some nice open backs for this movie. The sound design in this movie, it's
I really hope it wins.
I
really am hoping it wins Best
Really-
Oscar. It deserves it.
best Oscar. Yep, it's going the best Oscar in the whole
yeah.
thing.
But yeah, we'll have an Oscar discussion later as well.
Yeah. In terms of the movies I've seen that were nominated for Best Picture, I think that this is the best one, probably.
With the clarifier that you've seen, I believe 3, right? Oppenheimer.
Play the sad trombone sound effect.
Oppenheimer, Killers, and Zone. I saw all the nominations for Best Picture.
You're so much better than me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I am.
I
And
know. I'm sorry.
I
shouldn't have talked.
I'm hoping Poor Things wins personally.
My friend described it as the quote pedophile movie.
we will have them on as a guest.
I hope so.
And we
I
will
really-
like
Okay, I don't want. I'm not gonna say who they are. But I joined a call with them and some other friends, and they were talking about the fucked up, as they described, pedophile movie they saw. I said, "Oh, what was it called?" They said, "Poor Things." And I go on Letterboxd, I see that my good friend Joku,
co-host of the Composting podcast.
and judge on America's Got Talent.
Yeah. Let's
I
just say
thought-
nobody in America has talent.
That's
Alright,
why
so,
we're going. That's why we're going to Iceland.
Fuck yeah.
Speaking of Iceland's Got Talent, they have a swastika ice sculpture in this movie,
Oh yeah.
and you said, this is your funniest line."
No, you were like being like, dude, you were talking about how cringe it is, and then you were like, not even the fucking Soviet Union had like a hammer and sickle ice sculpture.
I was saying the Soviet Union would never do a hammer and sickle ice sculpture.
And then I said America's would be just a giant dollar sign.
And my response to that is, if I walked into two parties, one of them had the swastika, the other one had the dollar sign, my takeaway would be, dude, that dollar sign family is so much trashier. Like, sure, the swastika ones want me dead, but dollar sign ice sculpture is crazy.
Yeah. Anyway, you wanna wrap this up? You wanna wrap this up? You wanna do scores?
Yep, I gave this. I'm gonna say 14 out of 15 on a 15-point scale, which rounds up to a 5 out of 5.
I would give this one a 13.5, which rounded up would be a 4.5 out of 5.
So, that gives us a score of 27.5 out of 30.
Woo! Let's go.
Wait, dude, why didn't we do that before? We can just add up our scores and get an out of 30 score. That makes so much more sense.
Oh my god. New scale. 30 scale.
Yeah.